If you're like lots of us, you probably get inundated with a variety of different appeals that come in the mail day after day, week after week. And most of us sit there at our kitchen table and we look at them and say, which one do I respond to? I'd like to respond to all of them because they all seem like such important needs. I'd like to do something, but which one do I respond to? And therein lies, I guess, a key difference perhaps in us over and against the rich man in the gospel parable today. At least we have the ability, I hope and pray, to recognize a need or a problem in our world and to work to respond to it. But not the rich man. He goes off to work each day dressed in his purple and his linen, and he steps right over the problem there at his front door. He's off to the stock exchange there in Bethlehem, or maybe he's on his way to work at the newspaper or the bank, and he just steps right over the problem right at his very doorstep. He doesn't even notice Lazarus right there, in need, poor, hungry, homeless, dependent, a beggar, someone who is obviously injured and who could benefit from the gift of his help. He just steps right over him. And when the gospel parable makes reference to the great chasm that exists between Lazarus and the rich man in the afterlife, I think perhaps that chasm was in existence even before both of them died. How great is that chasm? How wide does it span? Is it as wide as maybe from bank to bank of the Looking Glass River here in DeWitt? Is it as wide as across the Grand Canyon out west? Is it as wide as the distance between the earth and the moon? I don't think so. I think that chasm is about this wide. It's about that wide. Now you're saying, now why could that chasm be just about that wide? Well, turn it this way, and it's this distance. From brain to heart. From where we think to where we feel. That seems to be a pretty great chasm in the life of the rich man. There seems to be a disconnect there. How can he see and not feel? How can he not see and not feel? Therein lies the first chasm that has to be bridged in the life of the rich man. And that's the chasm that has to be bridged in our lives as well. It's one thing to say, wow, there are lots of needs in the world, but it's another to say, you know what, there's something I can do. Now, as Mother Teresa and others might say, the way to look at this is to think globally and act locally. There are lots of problems out there that cry for our attention and for our support. But one of the best ways to help overcome them is to identify one of those problems as it exists in our community and do what we can to support it. We can't solve something on a worldwide scale, perhaps as an individual, but we can act individually to make small differences that add up collectively over time. I was reminded of this just last week as I was reading the bulletin in advance of the weekend, and I happened to read Rob Strauss's column in the back. And Rob is our parish operations manager, and so he keeps us up to date on a variety of different things in the life of the parish. And the thing that caught my attention last week was his quarterly report about the work that we do through our parish food pantry and our Helping Hands ministry. In the last quarter of the year, so that's from June to August, we assisted almost 300 families through our parish food pantry. That's more or less 100 families a month. 100 families a month receiving about 25 to 40 pounds of food, depending on what's available in the parish food pantry at any given time. Do the math. That's 3 tons of food distributed in just about 3 months' time. And that food arrives every Sunday back there by the gift table behind the baptismal font. During the summer, it's not only the non-perishable food gifts and household products that are given, but it's also the bounty that comes from people's gardens that's shared as well. In 3 months' time, we've thought globally but acted locally. Hunger is a worldwide problem. This year, 1 billion people, 1/6 of the world's population, go to sleep every night without adequate food. Here in the United States, during this most recent recession, poverty and hunger grew at a rate faster than any recession prior to this. And the vast majority of people who experience the effects of that are children or women. And so while we can think globally, we can act locally by bringing non-perishable food for the food pantry. Through the Helping Hands Fund, which is a fund that assists people with a variety of different financial needs, we've been able to provide prescription medicine, we've been able to provide utilities, we've been able to prevent people from being evicted from their homes or their apartments, and on and on and on. About $3,000 during this last quarter. The Helping Hands, that fund relies on the generosity of everyone here to support it and to make it possible, so that in turn we can assist people with a variety of different needs. And most of the social service agencies now are out of funds. They won't have funds until the new budget year beginning in October. There are lots of other ways that we can assist too. If homelessness is a problem, we can work together with Habitat for Humanity, as we will be as a parish here in the not too distant future, to work on another build for a home for a low-income family. Maybe one of the ways that we look at a global issue and act to change it locally is by working with the 40 Days for Life campaign to peacefully but powerfully pray and show our support for an end to abortion and for the dignity of all human life. There are lots of opportunities that come our way. The challenge is to not let this chasm get in the way of perceiving and responding to them. The challenge is to not let ourselves become like the rich man who's described in the parable, or the people who are described pretty forcefully in that first reading. Ultimately, though, what helps us to bridge this chasm between heart and head is what we experience here. As we experience Jesus' own self-giving in His Word and in His body and in His blood, we cannot help but know that He too can change us. That it's His power, it's His mercy, it's His generosity that helps to bridge this chasm, that pulls us out of ourselves to notice the needs of those around us and to do what we can with what we have to make a difference in the world.